Hello, everybody. So we got a few people here tonight. I didn't know what to expect on, what is this, Thursday? I never know what day of the week it is anymore. Retirement is, not, which I hadn't had a regular payday in I don't know how long, but I don't know if most people are aware of it or not, but that's kind of how a lot of people keep up with what day of the week it is. It's 3 days of payday. It's 2 days of payday. Well, without a payday, it's always Monday. So we got 30, we got 40 people. Wow, it's jumping pretty good there. We'll see who all we got in here. What I'm going to do tonight is we're going to make love out of my love letters here. And I used my 3mm Baltic Birch. And I've got two different versions and two different sizes here. And I'm going to release this file. We're going to show you the file in Lightburn, show you some of the things to look out for and the roadblocks and hiccups. But I call this my love letters puzzle. And a little bit of history. This, I wasn't, and I've alluded to this, I think, in a previous video. This was my gift to the patrons who supported me all year last year. And didn't matter if they're gold, silver, or bronze, all the patrons got this file. And I was trying to have it ready before the end of the year. And I was rushing, and thought I had it. And I made one. I made the great big ones. And those, when I designed this, I made those letters so that those are about 12 inches back there. Each one of them is 12 inches tall. But in order to make those 12-inch letters, it took, I think it was 16 pieces of 300 by 300 or 12 by 12 material. It took a lot of material. And that's if you don't screw none of them up. So I was like, wow, that's a big commitment. That's an expensive project to make. It looks nice. And my intention was to make those the foot tall ones with the lace and then stuff them full of my fairy lights and make something really, really nice. But that's a big project. It's a lot of wood, a lot of material, and then plus the lights. It can be an expensive project to make. It'd be really nice when it's done, but so I started to scale it down. And when I scaled it down, I inadvertently scaled it down twice, not paying attention to what I was doing. Sometimes I do something and I forget that I already did it, and I did it again. And so I ended up having 3 different versions of this file for the patrons and said, oh, wait, you know what? I'll just give you all 3 scaled versions. And then it turns out it wasn't ready for release yet. I was trying too hard to get it out for the end of the year. So I had to back it up and pull it out, and I said it was a mess. And one of the patrons said, yeah, that's life and that's love. It's messy. Well, it's also can be a bit of a puzzle sometimes too. And so that's why I call this my puzzle. And if you look, I designed this in a way so that I made sure that all of the slots and tabs lined up anywhere they met. So in order to make sure that all these lined up when they were stacked in this orientation, I had to maybe make an end piece a certain way or do so. Whenever you go to put it together, it was like, wait a minute, why is this like this? Well, it turned out the way it is to achieve the final look that it's got. And the E is the most challenging one to put together. But there are some other pieces in here, and we're going to look at all of them. We're going to go over. In fact, I've got a different camera angle set up. I've got everything already cut out and ready to pull out of the pieces and assemble. And we'll step over there to that camera and start putting stuff together here in just a few minutes. But I was trying to give some time to get everybody in here, and we got 57 people in the stream. And if this is something that you think is nice, I'm going to have a special gift for you guys. So you want to be sure and hang around and watch this throughout. The file is available on hobowithwood.com. But for you guys tuning in for the live stream, you probably want to watch this first and see how troublesome is it. And it'll be worth your while if you do, because it might be a headache if you don't. So who we got in here? We got Jesse, Jack, Chicago Bob. Hello, everybody. Hello, V Rich. I was hoping to see a couple of faces in here. There was a couple of people who commented in Facebook this week about having particular problems that I thought if I seen them in the live stream, this would be a good time to address just a couple of those too. But let's see here. Hope everybody had a very safe and happy New Year. Nobody had to spend the night in a drunk tank. Let's see. Looking for a couple of familiar names that had those questions, but I don't see them. They might show up later on. Let's see. Coming on down. And guys, this one is, when I was doing the instructional videos and teaching stuff, different techniques and things in Lightburn, having you comment with the 1, 2, 3, 4 that you've learned something that helps with the chat rate. There won't be much here that you're going to probably learn tonight, except for the potential roadblocks if you download this file and what to look out for. So, Jeff already out the gate here with a $10 super sticker. Jeff, thank you. I didn't, as I say, I haven't even passed the plate. In fact, I'm kind of on the fence about even passing the plate tonight, because what I'd love it if you like this file. And these are individual letters, as you've seen on the work table. Each one of those will be, snapped together, glued together if you have to, and you'll have 4 individual pieces that you can stack around a book stand or place around, or you can stack them like this. Now, I had seen some, I think they were bumper stickers or that had love kind of like that, and I didn't know that that's actually a very popular statue. And Rich, Louisiana hobby guy I mentioned the other day, said, if you put the O with the living hinge and tilt it like the statues, that might be a real hit. And I'm like, statues? What statues? And I just did all the living hinges and teaching you guys what I know about them. And I said, well, okay. And I looked up the statues and seen it. I said, oh, okay. Maybe that's what I'd seen on those bumper stickers. And so I'm like, I'll play with it. And I kind of sort of got it figured out to where it can be done with a living hinge. I got a round O and got starting works of a living hinge there. And the way that would work, I'd have another living hinge that go around the outer perimeter, and then it would sit kind of at an angle like the statues. Well, this is a big enough puzzle as it is. Whenever you start adding the living hinge to it, it really complicates things. It really makes it more difficult. And because that O is round and it is at an angle, it's kind of tough to place this O in that orientation with the current font that I'm using, because the O sits here like that, and the contact point on it, there's 2 contact points. One is down here, and on the statues that are out there in the real world, the L has a little flare that comes up and catches the bottom of the O right there. And I'm like, in order to do that, I'd have to reconfigure the whole thing. And I said, you know what? I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. So let's take a look at the Lightburn file real quick. Let's see here. Switch to this camera, switch to that camera. All right. If you guys go to hobowithwood.com, but don't do it yet. Wait till after this stream. It'll be worth your time if you wait till after the stream. The file you'll download is going to look like this. When you first open it up, it's like, wait, I've even had people who've told me, said, hey, I opened up that file, ain't nothing there. And I said, scroll out. And I've got it positioned so each letter is on a single piece of 12 by 12 or 300 by 300 material. And I did it this way because when you do those great big pieces, and I told you that's taking 16 pieces of material, 16 or 17 pieces to do them a foot tall. Well, as you know, if you've been doing this long enough, you're not going to pick up 16 or 17 pieces of material that have the same thickness. And if you're trying to cut a really precision fit piece with the kerf dialed in just right, well, if your material is off 0.3 of a millimeter, there goes your kerf. So in order to do that, I was going through my sheets of ply, measuring 16 pieces to find all of them that were within, 1/10 of a millimeter in order to be able to build them that big and have a good fit. So by doing them this size, you can get all the letter on one piece of material. You're not going to have to worry about mismatch thicknesses, and you're going to have a good fit either way. And they're small enough that they look good on a bookcase, or you can put them on a nightstand or the coffee table, wherever you want to put them. But if you want to scale these up, you can scale this file easily. It is easy to do, but when you do that, you're going to select the entire thing and scale that thing at one time. Drag it up to make the size you want it to be. And that way everything stays nice and uniform. Now you've scaled it up to the size you want it to be. You would go into your tools and, with everything selected, you would go into your tools and resize slots and selection. But when you first import this file, everything is at 3 millimeters. It's designed and saved with a 3 millimeter tab and slot. Well, when you scale it, you've also just scaled up the size of those tabs and slots. So you would need to use your ruler to go in here and find out how tall are they now. And this is now currently 6 millimeters, 6.07 millimeters. And this has come up more than once. I'm going to go over it real fast. If you're scaling an image and you're changing your slots and tabs, when you select the entire image, you go to your tools and the resize slots and selection. Lightburn is not smart enough to know the material thicknesses that were pre-existing, and you have to put in the material you're going to be using. So you have to put in the old material thickness, and in this case, we just checked it at 6.07 millimeters. And the new material thickness, we're going to say, is going to be 3 millimeters. And to be safe, increase your tolerance to at least 0.5 millimeter to make sure if there are any irregularities in there, you're going to get those. And then you're going to need to resize your slot depth and say, okay. And then you're going to need to go right back into it again in tools, resize slots and selection, and resize the tab height and say, okay. Now that's ready to cut out at that size with 3 millimeter material. But let's go back to the original file. You want to save it before closing? No. File, open up recent, and there's our original file. All right. There's not a lot more to look at or talk about right here. Let's just jump over to the workbench and start putting this together. Now, what happens when you try to do something live? It blows up every time. So I've already made this file a half a dozen times. And when I do it, and I really do, the taste of crow is not that great. But I used to make fun of Rich, Louisiana hobby guy, for putting his boxes together with a hammer. But now I use my little pecker because I dial in that font or that kerf so tight and so nice and so tight that I don't need none of these are assembled with glue. None of them. They're all friction fit and tacked together. But for the purpose of this live stream, I dialed the kerf back a little bit because I make them really, really tight, and didn't want to struggle with them on the live stream. So I'm hoping that I didn't make it so loose that I can't get it together at all. And if you have not dialed in your kerf and you don't know what your kerf is on your laser, that is something you will want to figure out. But there are a couple different ways out there, and I've started. Here I go. Was going to the work table and squirrel. I was going to make one of these out of Paduke. So really nice hardwood, and I got it all cut out. It's really, really pretty. Paduke, if you don't know, is a really red color, and it's gorgeous when you put a finish on it. So there's the O that I had cut out in Paduke, and it was going to be so pretty. I was really looking forward to it. But when I got it all cut out and I started to put it together, it wouldn't go together. Couldn't get it together. Couldn't hammer it together. Couldn't force it together. And what I discovered was, and all of your lasers have you don't have a round dot. They're rectangular. So your X and Y cut differently. And when I'm cutting my birch, it's a non-issue for me. I'm guessing that the birch is pliable enough and forgiving enough, even when it's a tight fit and I'm hammering it in, that whatever that one axis is that's really tight, it's forgiving. Well, this hardwood was not. In fact, you can see on this one, whenever I was trying to put it together there, instead of it being forgiven, it just broke that tab off. And what's strange, and well, it's not strange, it makes perfect sense, because the X and Y cut on with a different kerf. If I take these two pieces and I can't get them to go together like that, but if I take these over here, look at there, those fall in and out of each other. Those are sloppy. They won't even stay together. And this is the same file. It's the same, but the difference was these were cut X and these were cut Y. So I really don't understand it, but you would think that, well, it's cutting the slot on an X and a Y, and it is, but when it's cutting this way, that short part, is tight enough that it won't fit, but here it's cutting. So the laser does have a different kerf on different materials, is what I learned. So I ended up having to forget about doing this because I was going through too much expensive wood to try and make that happen. And Rich has a test out there for finding your kerf on your laser, and he takes and just cuts out a rectangle and then puts like 10 lines down that rectangle and cuts those in 10 pieces, and then slides all 10 pieces together, measures the gap, divide it by 10, and that's what your kerf is. Well, that's what your kerf is on that axis. You'd have to rotate that rectangle and do it again to find the kerf on that one and maybe do an average. I don't know. But I found that working with the plywood with this kerf, this laser, I do about a 0.13 on a positive kerf to get a really tight friction fit. And when you go to do this project, the love letters, if you don't have a little bit of extra kerf on it to help you hold that piece in place, you might want an extra hand somewhere to help you holding this thing together. And that's why I'm hoping that I didn't shoot myself in the foot by opening the kerf a little bit. And see, what's Chris saying here? Chris says, make a note, hardwood should be done on a CO2. Well, I got a CO2. I hate turning that thing on. I really do. I didn't have a problem cutting it, but the kerf bit me. All right, so I've got that set up, but this is my mic. The table's over here, and I'm not going to be able to see. I don't have as nice a setup as some of the other guys have got where I can't see the monitor that great. I'm going to try a trick. As long as I don't get any feedback. I'm going to try using my phone. I'm going to YouTube. Mute it so I don't have a loop. And then I can monitor the comments. Let's see if that'll work. I don't know. We're going to find out. All right. Hey, there I am. I gotta mute it. I can't find the mute, so I just turn it all the way down. All right, yeah, this is going to work. All right, so I'm going to step over here, and I'm going to do a sound check and make sure you can hear me well when I get over there. So if you're having a problem with the audio or the volume's not loud enough, let me know. I'll be watching the comments. So we're going to switch. Go to not that one. We're going to go to that one. There we go. All right. Okay. Oh, what happened? All right, sound check. Can you hear me okay, fellas? Ladies and gentlemen, are we still audible? I'm kind of speaking up a little bit. Let me know in the comments if you're having a problem hearing me. Or if you can hear me, let me know. I've got loose letters here that I can kind of look at and see where is, well, I got a delay. All right, all good, sounds good, good. So hopefully I can use this. The one letter I don't have is the letter E, and it's the ones I've got are glued up and put it together over there. I had to cut one out and was going to have it ready for this, but during the test assembly, I put my thumb right through the letters, so the lace. So I don't have an extra E right now. All right, we'll start with the first letter, and we'll look at the L. Now, a lot of good material left on that one. All right, now the first thing I'll caution you about when I'm assembling these, I pair up my L's and make sure that everything is the same. All right, and if you'll look on this L, the corners are different. You've got this corner, and this corner, and you got several of them that are same, but this one right here is a little bitty corner, and that's the way it turned out in order for me to be able to make everything line up. So whenever you go to assemble these, you got to look for that back piece, that there's the same piece. Well, that orientation would not let that L go together. So you got to make sure that you orient all of those pieces correctly. All right. So now that I see that those are correctly aligned, now what I recommend is not working with the lace side, but start your assembly with this piece here because it's the least fragile. And on the L, you've got 2 long pieces, 2 medium pieces, and then 2 short pieces. And I don't think that any of those are identical. Yeah. See, this one is the same where you've got 3 males, 3 males, and 3 males, but then this one is slightly different. It's got 3 slots, 3 female slots. So they're not the same. And these are different because this one, you've got the male and this one's female on either end. And these are different. So none of the L's, none of these pieces are the same in the L, because this one is female and male, and this one is all female. So I'm not going to refer to my pre-assembled piece because you won't have one. So I'm going to look at this, and you're going to want to, if you're going to have to glue your piece together, you're going to want to dry fit everything before you start gluing it up, because you don't want to have glue on something only to find that, oh, that didn't go there. So making sure that oriented correctly, I've got the little tab here on the lower part, and it doesn't matter if you put that there or if you had it there and there. Now, it turns out this is the back side, and I can tell because of a little bit of flashback that's on the back of and I haven't cleaned it up. So that's how it was cut out, like this. All right, so when I'm doing the L, I start with my 2 medium pieces, and I'm looking to see, all right, so that if I put that there, that's going to leave, it's not long enough. It doesn't go back far enough. So I know the female piece doesn't go there, and this one is uniform either way, so that's not going to work. So it's got to be this piece here, and that's good. The kerf is good. Yeah. So now you can, hopefully you can see that this lower part of the L has got the 3 male pieces sticking out, and they're extending out here beyond where it's going to interlock with this piece. So that goes there, which means this has to go here. And since this one is the same on either end, it doesn't matter which way it goes on there. But when you go to put this into position, what I found is if you put this in at an angle, so that you take and you put those slots down here where they're intended to go, and you rock it up and into the other slots, it will help you lock all of that together. And it's a tight fit. In fact, I think I found that it was easier to do the other piece, or do this piece first. And that's why I said this is a puzzle. It's a puzzle, 100% a puzzle. So I'll put that on good and tight. And now down underneath those tabs, and trying to hold this for the camera and do the alignment is tough. So I'm gonna have to take her over here where I can see it. And of course, like I said, because I'm live, I've got my nerves going too. So I've got Murphy's Law and everything else going against me. Okay. Okay, once I get that locked in like that, then you can begin to put your lace on. And when you start doing this, don't apply any pressure like I did on the E on your lace area. Stay as close to your tabs here as possible and just work your way around those tabs, and it'll lock and snap into place. If you don't pull it all apart doing it, and this is why I like having my kerf as tight as I did. Once you get that hammered together, it ain't popping apart. In fact, this is still tight enough. There we go. And also, it's not squared up yet. Everything's still a little bit out of square, but the more pieces you put on it, you get it into square, and it becomes easier and easier to assemble. Now, this piece is different. And what I'm looking for, when I laid this down here, that's got the males here. This is the females, and I'm pretty sure that that looks right where it's all females on that end piece. But we'll know as I get her together. So yeah, that one's all females, and so that one would go there. I don't know who. That was an alert from YouTube. Hopefully we're good. All right. So now that that's all starting to square up, this part's getting easier to align. Now I can work on getting this to stay in place. There we go. Careful of your lace. Treat it like it's real lace. And then this one is the one that was not all males. This one's got the 3 females. And the back piece has the 3 male tabs sticking up. So that would where those would go like that. And if you find that you're having trouble getting it to line up, it's because everything's still not 100% square. And you may have to rack it, kind of twist it to get things to fall into place. And now we have an A-hole. And that wasn't too terribly painful. I didn't break nothing, and I didn't splinter nothing, and I didn't use any other 4-letter words. All right, so L. Now the O. The O is a real challenge. I said the E was tough, but the O hopefully will not bite me in the butt, because that one you have to work from the inside out. You don't have to worry about any type of alignment issues with the O, because they are symmetrical. All 4 sides are equal, both inner and outer. But your side pieces, you have 2 side pieces that are identical and 2 more side pieces that are identical. And obviously they're going to go opposite each other. So it'll be like that, that, and that. And then your inner pieces is the same way. You have 2 pieces that are identical and 2 more that are identical. And they're going to go opposite each other inside the letter O. And the way that I found it was the easiest to do this one is kind of put these together on the inner pieces. And this one's going to be a little bit tough because the curve on this one is not as tight as I'd like it to be. So I may not be able to do that. When the curve's really, really super tight, I put those 4 together, making a box, and then snap that box into the Oh, but this kerf is not allowing me to do that. So I'm having to do an assembly process that I haven't done. Put that in place. Same thing here. All right. Those are done. Almost. Snap that back in there. There we go. All right. So that needs this one. Nope. Which is which? Now this is going to be tough because it's got to come. I don't even know if this is going to be possible. Don't want to break it. All right, I'm going to tilt it up a little bit. Now that I got that up and get those end pieces in. I said every one I've done before, I pre-assembled this inner piece. Come on, baby. There we go. All right, now that I got that in there, you just got to squeeze it, square it up, and hold your mouth just right and push. All right, so that's in there. But it's a lot of tension in here, and it's causing it to want to flare out as it goes up. So now you're going to want to put your top piece of the O on there, and it's going to require some good amount of squeezing. So I start in one corner and get that on there, and then begin to walk it around, squeezing it into place. And trying to keep it on camera for you guys and do this is tough. Well, y'all see now why I said it's a puzzle, right? Okay, there's one corner. Finally. Now I'm going to walk this around here. So I got the one corner lined up. But that piece is nowhere near lined up. So it's going to take some convincing. And I'm trying to be careful of the lace. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Told you need a third hand sometime. I'm going to use my clamp to draw that in. If my clamp's not in the way. And it is. Way to go, stupid. All right, that's better. Okay, and that one's on. There's 3 out of 4. Okay. Woo! All right, that hard part's over. So now you've got the 2 different sides, or 2 different designs on these side pieces. Remember, they go opposite each other. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not, but boy, is it tight. Oh, wrong one. Close. And get out the forward tool. Oh. All right, I'm going to come over here and check the comments here. In fact, I'm going to switch cameras for a second. Because I see a lot of comments that were popping up there. Let me see. Close that. Oh, what'd you do? I just opened up a Clack Shack video. Sorry, guys. All right, let's see here. Sounds good. Okay. Late for the show again. Hey, old guy, well, at least you're here. Chicago Bob saying his arthritis is hurting. I tell you, that's why I kind of like the idea of making these bigger to begin with, but it's too much material. Andy's saying I was waiting to see if you could assemble it this way or not. We don't know which way. It's a puzzle, but the best love is worth fighting for. Will the O be symmetrical? What about the difference in X and Y curve? With this plywood, I don't think it really matters. If you're doing something else, like if he was trying to do it with that Paduke, yeah, it'd make a difference. But I think there's enough forgiveness in this plywood that you can get by without having to worry about what little bit of difference there is in the X and Y. A lot of the L design fell out. Should it be on a different cut layer? I didn't fall out. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but everything's here that should be. Don't know what you're referring to there, Bordello. Crafting with Gene says my kerf is off slightly. I'll have to measure going to use glue. Yeah. And what I've found, like I said, there are a couple different ways you can test your kerf and people have out there. But what I found whenever I'm working with a new material and new design, I will make a very simple box or 2 boxes like this. And actually, it can only be just 1 tab and 1 slot. I'll make 1 tab, 1 slot, and test it, put it together. And like here, they just don't want to go together. I mean, I'm trying with all my might. It's hurting my hand to get that, and it will not go in there. I will test and say, okay, well, that kerf was too much, so I'll back off and do another one and test. And I found that that's the easiest way for me to truly dial in to have the perfect cut for the perfect file for that design for that material, because it does change a little with materials. And I think that's because when you're cutting with the laser, you are burning the material away. It's combustion, and different materials are going to combust differently. So you'll have a different amount of burn off with one material than you do with another. So that's why your kerf could and does change. The lace portion of it is very fragile when I did it earlier. Yeah, it's you said, I mean, I was sitting there banging with mine with the hammer, but I wasn't putting my hammer through the lace. And I have built many of these, and so it's doable, but you've got to have your focus right, because if it's out of focus and you've got too large of a spot size, it is a very fragile. I mean, it's lace; it's supposed to be fragile, but if it's too fragile, it could be an issue with if you're doing, because you're doing kerf even on the lace. So that might be another thing. If you're doing 0 kerf, if you try to cut this file with 0 kerf, your lace is even more fragile than my lace. Because whenever I'm doing this, I've not done one with 0 kerf. I've done all of these with a little bit of kerf added to it. So what that's doing is every time it goes around those super fragile webs, it's actually cutting it slightly larger because of the kerf. I'm adding outward kerf to it. So if you're finding that it's just too fragile, it might be because you're doing 0 kerf, maybe. Carl says, going good, even loose is tight. Yeah, this is a loose fit for me. Ed says, don't force it. Use a bigger hammer. And let's see here. These are the hammers from our live stream where we did the powder coat series. That's what these are. This is the red, black, and blue powder coat, and that one. And that's my little, what is this, 5-ounce hammer. That's why it's my little pecker. But this one is, I think this is actually my grandfather's hammer. It's an old hammer. And I put on here, let's see, that one, there we go. In case of emergency, in bright red letters, unless, if you're the LA hobby guy, use it on every damn thing. And that was before I realized how beneficial it can be with getting that kerf just right and actually using the hammer to put the boxes together. So that's why I say it's hard. I had to eat crow anytime I'm putting boxes together. What's Jason saying here? With the lace design, drill a hole between each letter and put some fair. Yeah, and you might be a little bit late to the stream, Jason, but that's what I was talking about doing with the big ones here. Make those really large with the lace cutouts and then stuff those full of fairy lights. I thought that would look really super neat. You could do the little ones, like you say, where you could interconnect them and probably get by with a single strand of fairy lights. I used to light burn. I used to light burn file with nothing changed on the Rolly MK1. Okay. And that's when you bring this thing in, the settings that I have on there, when you bring it in, I'm using the 20-watt Rolly MK2. And I've really slowed it down considerably. When I'm using the 20-watt laser with this 3mm Baltic birch that I work with, I typically can cut it out at 420 millimeters a minute and 100% power. But because of how intricate that lace is, and I don't want any stringers, any chads, or anything hanging on, I slowed this thing down to 310 millimeters a minute and 100% power, and everything just dropped right out. But you need to test your fitting, your cut settings. And when you're working with, just like with Rich's prayer, if you guys did his Lord's Prayer, you got to really slow it down and make sure those little bitty pieces fall out. You don't want to have to be trying to take a toothpick and push out any pieces or using an X-Acto. You're not going to have any luck. So slow it down and let the laser do the work for you. Carl's asking, are you putting some colored plastic behind the lace before you put the lights in? Then need a slot for a switch or a wire. Yeah. Me personally, I kind of like the light, seeing the light. If it's the little bitty fairy lights, and you can get, and I'm working on bringing some in that I can offer to you guys on Hobo with Wood. That will be some because when I did my light box with the Sweeter Than Honey, I went locally trying to find some reasonably priced fairy lights. Could not find anything except for some that just came on and stayed on. They didn't do anything, no chasing, no blinking, no flickering, no nothing. And they were ridiculously expensive at Target. So I found some that have the ability to chase, flicker, alternate, or whatever. And I'm negotiating with the vendor now to try and bring in a large quantity that I can offer you guys. But then as far as the option of putting some type of cover over it, that is totally up to you, the designer. It's your project. It looked good. I like seeing those lights do their thing. Denver saying he doesn't have the file but can't wait to try it on his MK2 30-watt. Yep. Lights for each letter separately. Well, like it was mentioned up there, Jason, I think it was, said, yeah, when I go back over there, if you pre-plan putting the lights in it prior to your assembly, you could set it up so that, because I've got these all glued together now. And if you're going to glue them together, obviously you've got a place here that's hidden, and here. So you could actually have one strand of lights that you could twist and run, put a hole through there and run them all the way through the entire thing with one strand of lights. Then you would have to, come up with a way, and there's a space here that's probably large enough to where you can mount the controller for it or hide the controller. But those are all design things that, hey, I can't do everything for you guys. This was a lot, but I can't do it all. I can, but I'm not. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So we got the L and the O. Now let's go do the V and the E. Now the V is really the simplest of them all because it is the most symmetrical letter when it comes to the pieces. The E, it's the last letter, and I was saving it for last because if there's going to be a letter that's going to bite me in the butt in this live stream, it's probably going to be that E. All right, so let's change cameras and go back over here and do the V. All right, so there's our L and our O. All right, the V, all three of these small pieces are identical. These are all the same. The V is not going to be a problem to assemble because you obviously can see which piece goes where. These are identical, and These are slightly different, where you have this one is two female ends, this one is a female and a male. And that's because in the V, they kind of interlock together like that to kind of hold it, to hold those in place. They're not a real tight fit, and they may even have a small void in them, but it helps hold them in place like that. And those are the first two pieces that I put into the V. And let's see here. Let's see how tight this one's going to be first. How tight is this? Because each one of these uh, varied on thickness of material slightly, and I kept playing with the kerf because I knew I was going to have something going on in this live stream. I might have got this one really. This one's dialed in the way I would normally make it. Yeah, this is tight. This one's really tight. No glue required on this one. I'm glad it's not the E. I hope the E didn't turn out this good for the live stream. Got to get it really close to perfect to get that lined up. Okay. So that's in. And as you can see, those, looking at it from inside there, it looks like there's slots and tabs. There's actually more of a void there than I'd like. I don't remember that in the others. I guess it is, though. I didn't pay no attention because the black squares, it kind of looks like the same thing down the end there. So those are in place. And plus, I think I may have had them tighter at one point and found that it was actually too much of a problem. All right, so now that those are in, I'm going to start putting the lace on. Because anytime you're doing the outer pieces, it's easier to do with, I found, and I consider this to be an inside piece, just like the inner pieces of the O. I do those first, then I'll put the top, the lace on, and then start working my way around. And be sure you're not putting pressure on your lace. Stay away from that lace. That's good and solid. That's good. These are identical, so they are obviously outboard. And it doesn't matter which one you put where and when. And I've just pulled this table into this camera shot. This is the first time you've seen it in one of my streams. This is actually a really nice work table. It's one of the first things I got off of. And I've heard people say Vevor and Vevor. Vevor. Some of their electronic tools are a little bit crappy. But this is just a work table. And it's really nice. On this end here, there's a power strip with about a half a dozen plugs on it. And it's actually a really convenient work table. I've got a link to it down below in the description of my videos. The Vevor work table. Vevor or Beaver? And these are all identical, but they may make a difference how they end. Yeah. So like that. Making sure it's as squared up as possible helps these end pieces go into place. Because if it's a little bit cattywampus, these are not going to fit. That's a good snap. And before I start banging on the bottom, I'll put the bottom on. And I may have got that one too tight. Or I'm putting it in wrong. Nope, that's putting it in right. All right, so there's the V. Y'all want to start any kind of pool or poll or put any wagers out there on if the E goes together without me breaking something, tearing something up, or getting upset. Let's see here. Go back here, catch up on some of these questions and comments. Okay. There's Carl's question. There's Carl's question. Okay, Carl said he found the 30 packs of fairy lights, battery operated string lights, 7 feet. Yep. 7 feet's not a lot, Carl. It seems like it is, but with those fairy lights, you're actually probably what in that one is about a 1 foot square or octagonal shaped light box I did. I think that was a 30-foot strand in a 1 foot piece. You know, because those 7 feet don't go far, not far at all. Yeah, I've been stroke kicked in. I don't know what you're talking about there, Chris. You're not shipping them configured to our specs. I'm sure you're probably being funny because I'm not shipping anything, but I don't remember what you were being funny about. Okay, Marcella, I thought you mentioned you had plans to do the whole alphabet. Is that still a possibility? Yes. However, there's been a change. The alphabet, the full 26-letter alphabet that I intend to do will not be this format because, and I've mentioned this in a couple of other videos, and no one else has ever said, hey, yeah, I've thought about that before. So I'll ask you guys too. Some of you probably already heard me ask this question. Are you aware or have you ever thought about that the letter W is actually a word and a letter? Double U. W. The letter W is actually a double U. There's 2 U's sitting side by side. There's a W. Well, if I'm going to do them in a block format instead of a double U, it would actually be like a double V. And if I did it in this particular shape or this aspect ratio to keep the size of the letter the same, that W would be huge compared to every other letter in this alphabet. So what I'm going to probably have to do is design the W first and then scale the rest of the alphabet off of the W in order to be able to have a W that was, still relatively small. And then whatever its dimensions and widths, whatever its parameters turned out to be, is what I would design the rest of the alphabet off of. So yeah, I still plan to, but it will not be these. And what I think I'm going to be doing is I'll be able to, for those who are crafters and doing stuff all the time, I'll have the entire alphabet available, but also have it on my website to where if you only wanted SDF, you wanted 3 letters for monograms, then you could order any 3 letters instead of having to order the whole pack. Please remind me if I want to fit looser to make assembly easier, do I raise or lower the kerf? Don't do anything to the kerf. If you do nothing to the kerf, it's going to be a very loose fit. If you want to make the kerf tighter, like you see me even using my little pecker to put it together, then you want to do an outward kerf. And it'd be nice if the spot size that laser manufacturers advertise was the actual spot size of the laser. And you could say, okay, well, that's your kerf. Well, as I said, from what I learned from doing this, different materials combust differently and burn away differently. So your kerf varies from material to material. but I think they advertise this as a 0.08 kerf, I think. But my outward kerf that I use when I'm using this Premium Baltic Birch, which is available at hobowithwood.com/Premium Baltic Birch, I do an outward kerf of a 0.13. So it's 5/100ths greater than what the advertised spot size is of the laser, I think. But it works for me and it works great. But, as the material fluctuates and changes, and your kerf, I think, is going to change from different materials. So do your cut settings and cut speeds, and all that depends on a lot of different things: the humidity, the environmental conditions you're in, the altitude levels you're at. All those things that can affect the combustion ability of the material are also going to play a factor in your kerf. So the only way to know these things, what works best for you, is to do what? It's another 4-letter word, and you ain't going to love it. Test. Lots and lots of test. Chicago Bob. So I remember, never use glue when making. So remember, never use glue when making love. I think that was an episode on 2.5 Men with Rose and Charlie. Let's see. Yeah, Chris says that Beaver/Bever, they're either really good or really bad. There's no middle ground, and what he's found is, and Chris is saying when they answer the phone, they say Beaver, not Bever, but Beaver. Okay. And Jack's saying, hit it harder. Well, I said I'd have to go get my Ford tool if I had to. That's what the other hammer's for. Lori, you've never heard of cattywampus? Is that a Southern thing? Anybody else ever heard of cattywampus? I'm stalling. This E is really. And Andy says, I'm surprised you don't have that lace layer last. Boy, say that 3 times. I had to slow down to say it once. Oh, wow. I just got it before October. Wonder if mine was in that group. Almost another conversation y'all were having. What kind of hammer is that? It is an extremely precise workman's tool. It's actually got a magnetic tip on this end. It's very, very, very expensive. Actually, not. It's just a Husky hammer I got at Home Depot, and I think you can see there it says it's a 5-ounce hammer, and it's kind of neat. I think this was made to. I forget what I was told that was for. I think it's for holding your nails or something. I forget now, but it works really well for tapping these pieces together. And when it don't work, I get Grandpa out. Yeah, Sharon says you could use the M for the W. Yeah, you could. It's still going to be wider if I was to. It's like on the E. I made the E, the middle slat in the E, a little bit skinnier, just to give it a little break in character and increase the amount of gap that's in here. And I could do that. And one of the other streams, somebody mentioned, on the W, the part of the letter that's slanted to the left could be really wide, and the ones going up to the right could be narrower, and that could give it some character. And that wouldn't have to be drastic, but just a little bit, kind of like this, so that wouldn't be as large. But in order for me to keep them stackable and uniform to where you could do stuff like this, in what grade was I in? Seventh grade shop class. I think 1 week of the entire class, the teacher just didn't want to do anything with us. So he gave us a bunch of graph paper, and for an entire week, you sat down and you learned to write the letter of the alphabet in that little bitty graph block. And you had to try and touch all four corners if it was a four-sided letter. The S, was a block. The A, of course, corner up to the middle and then down to the corner. But everything had to be in every single grid, and they all had to be symmetrical. And that's kind of what I was going for here, just to make them easier to stack. Also, W is the only letter with more than one syllable. Yeah, because it's a word in a letter. Double Q. Nipa, did you really need a heads up? I hope you didn't actually need that heads up. Did the base of the inserts of the V fit together? I was still working on the O when you put it together. Yes, it did. Now, like I said, these square pieces, they're all the same, all three of them. And you've seen me go, well, you may have been working on those and you didn't see me, but I went around before I started putting my end pieces in place. I tapped everything in and tried to get everything good and snug and tight to try and get it as square as possible. Because if it's slightly cattywampus, then those little bitty squares are going to not want to fit in there very well. If it's a little bit off square, you may have to try and rack the piece a little bit, kind of pull on the back piece, pushing on the front piece, and get that squared up, and then they will fall in place. But everything fits. If you're having a problem getting it to go together, then it's slightly out of square. Whopper-jawed and cattywop. Yeah, all them good words. The hammer he's using is called a tack hammer. Yep. I recognize it as a tack hammer. My grandfather was an upholsterer. I got it at Home Depot, right in the tool section. Beep, 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 beep. And Home Zero saying the E could be the M or the W. I guess it kind of could, but I don't want the duck. Do I have? Well, what do I do? Oh, here we go. I like it for the W, kind of okay, but I'm not really digging it as the M. And what I was, in my mind, the way I was picturing it was, instead of making it squared like that, both the M and the W have, instead of it coming down like that, have it come down to a point like the V does. And so there's where you don't do what I put my finger through that one. And that's why I don't have that one ready. But yeah, I guess that could work. And that's turn the E 90 degrees and you'd have W. Yep, another 90, you got an M. So you guys thinking more than I was. No, I was doing the dishes when Chicago Bob posted that. I need to acknowledge the fun. Yes. Okay. Just making sure, because like I said, Rose on 2.5 Men, she used super glue on Charlie. All right. Bill was a long one here. The slit in the end of the hammer is where one would slide the tack before hammering through the material into the wood frames. Okay. All right. So y'all have gotten quiet. So now you're waiting to see if I'm going to screw up the E. So let's go over here and see what we can keep from happening. All right. I put it off as long as I can put it off. Switch. All right. Boy, oh boy. All right. A lot of pieces. A lot of pieces. All right. So you've obviously got front and back. And on the E is like the L was, where there is a unique corner on the E. So you want to make sure that you have those unique corners synced with each other, or else you'll never get it together, no matter how big your hammer is. So make sure you've got those lined up. Then on your pieces, you have a pair that's this long, and they are identical. So there's one identical pair. Then here are two pieces that are the same size, and they are identical. And these two are the same size, and they're identical. That's the only one that size, and this one. All right, that pair is identical. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs and an oddball. And these make that 5 pairs and 2 oddballs. All right, so let's look at the E. Let's get this solid one so you can see it better. So we got 5 pairs. So 5 of these lines are alike, and we got 2 oddballs. So 2 of the oddballs. So what 2 lines, what could be the only 2 oddballs? This one over here, because I mentioned to you that this piece is narrower. So this outer piece is going to be that one oddball. So that's one of the oddballs, goes here. Then these other 3, the other oddball is one of the longer pieces. So it's got to be here or here or here. And since these 2 are identical, they have to go top and bottom. So this has got to be the outboard piece. So there's a little bit of deductive reason, a little bit of common sense that goes into play when putting this E together. Now, making sure you keep that alignment just right. And also, this is a big also. In fact, I'm going to come back over here to close up. These are lined up with that oddball corner, stacked on top of each other. So when you go to start building this thing and putting it together, and if you do like I do and you're working with the solid piece first because it's a little bit more stable, you want to make sure that you're snapping your pieces to the correct side of that piece. Because you can start it here with them sticking out, or you could do it here. But if you do it here, you're doing it backwards. So pay attention when you start to put your pieces in there that you're setting that up so that you're putting the pieces in what will be the middle and not coming out the back. Can you tell I'm stalling? Oh my. All right. Now, I'm going to start with these pieces. The top layer of the bottom, if that makes sense. It's not that one, it's this here. So these 2, the long pair go top and bottom, then the next longest pair go inside here. Now these are different, where you have the 3 males and the 3 females. Now I do have the assembled E over there that I could go look at, but I'm not going to. because I don't remember which way this goes. But what you're looking for is whenever you snap this into play, you want to make sure that your tabs are going to be in the same plane, same distance. Though that would work. And would this work? No. See, that won't work. So if I snap, and I'm hoping I've got this in an angle where you can see it. If I snap it in that way, these male tabs protrude further than these female tabs do. So that right there should tell you that that's incorrect. So I know this piece goes here, but it doesn't go in this orientation. So you're going to take that out and flip it over, put it back like I had it to begin with. Now, this is tricky. I'm putting this in here at an angle, and then I'm going to twist it to rotate that tab into its position and then lock it in there. But I can't remember if I need to have these in play first. Wrong one. This one. And this one's the same way. You've got 3 male and 3 female, and you're going to look to make sure that everything is at the right distance. So it looks like when you're putting the E together, you want the 3 male tabs protruding out the back of the E. And yeah, I'm going to push this into place. I'm not going to worry about trying to keep everything square right now. And now that I got that in place, I'm going to bring this one into play. Is that going to work? I've done this. I just don't remember how I did it. Yeah, there we go. Push that down and into play, and then kind of squeeze these into place. And now you got to do the same thing for the top 3. So that's one of these, putting the male tab sticking out the back. And this one, male tab sticking out the back. Little bitty one, jam it down in there. There we go, that's in place. Now rock these up and into place. All right. Those are in. Now that those are in, I put my lace on, and because that's enough to try and fight and get lined up now as it is. And those are the hard pieces. The rest of it's all easy. So get everything as square as I can possibly get it. And I don't know how well that's going to show up, but you can see that's flared like crazy. It's really tight down at the bottom. There's a really big gap up here. This is more going to take more of that, squeezing that into place while you're trying to put the lace in place. Making sure you've got everything oriented correctly. Pay attention to your original squares. And I start out here and start working my way up and around. And if you're going to put pressure on anything, you want to put pressure on the inside pieces, not on your lace pieces. And I'm going to have to hold this up tight, maybe out of camera. Mm. Come on, you little devil. Mm. That's how it's not want to cooperate. I'm going to start up here and see if I can't help force it square as I work my way around. Y'all got any bets going yet? I just showed you one I messed up, but that was the first one. I've done a bunch of them, and that was the first one I've messed up. Mm. And you can't put the back pieces on to help square it up because you got to have access. Oh my! This is the most difficult one yet, and it's because I'm live with you guys. You know that, right? This is your fault. Come on, baby. So close. So close, but yet so far away. I'm going to pop that up and out. Unfortunately, we're not playing with hand grenades or horseshoes. Close don't count. It's that one piece that's wanting to give me trouble. And it's only giving me trouble on that front tab. There we go. That might did it. I had it. There it is. There it is. Hallelujah. 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 Woo! All right. Like I said, this is a puzzle. This is not a project that's going to be for the faint of heart. Now, if you make these letters bigger, it would be easier to assemble because you got more room to work. Now this is going to go together easy. Those are the hard ones. I tell you what, this is this is symbolic of life too, boy. Love is a lot of work. And I saved that one for last because putting all the rest of it in there helps square everything up. And it should make this one, which is a little bit more difficult to access, easier to put in place. It should, because you've already squared everything. But watch it bite me. There we go. All right, boys and girls. And that might be a problem with my wood on that piece. That was the piece that was giving me the most difficult time going together, and she's not wanting to snap real good in place. There might be some warping in the wood, but there would be a place where I may end up having to put glue on that one to get her to stay fixed. But oh my, I didn't tear it up. Okay, so these are about five inches tall, each letter. And a lot of intricate work there. You can take this file, and if you don't like this particular lace, or if you're going to make this, someone mentioned when I posted these on Facebook, especially the larger ones, they would be great for like wedding decorations or something like that. Well, you could do them in a great big block letter like that, or you could personalize them. If you're going to make wedding decorations, you could put the wedding party name on there, or you could actually cut out the names and then stuff them full of lights. But let's jump over here to the little light burn real fast, because when you get this file, it's going to come with the lace in it. And if you don't want that, and what I recommend doing, this is the original 4 pieces. Grab one of those 4 tool paths, Control D, duplicate it, group it all together temporarily, and then just shoot it down to the left corner of your work bed or wherever you're going to work from. Then you can ungroup it. And that way you've got your original piece up here. It's up there no matter what you do, no matter how you screw this up. But if you don't want that lace, take and drag that L out of there, and then just select all of that. Hold your control button and deselect that square, and hit the delete button. And just put that L right back in place. And now you're ready to cut out an L that's either blank and or with your own custom designs in it. Oh, so let's see here. We're an hour and 45. We gone long on this one. I'm going to show you 2 real quick tricks, because I don't know if either of the 2 people that ask about problems with light burn, and these are really short, simple tricks that you can go, that helps. Like when I was putting the slots and tabs on the V's at an angle. Well, everybody knows you can put them around that square. It's pretty easy, but how do you get them lined up to the angles? Well, that was a simple trick, but let me go back up here and catch up on these questions real fast. Okay. Yep. Catch up here. Chris, E. Yeah, I hate that E. Yeah, famous last words. The rest of it's all easy. No, I saved the hard part for the last. And yeah, there's no quitting this, man. I'm gonna wrestle it. I'm gonna fix it. And this file. In fact, I almost missed the Laser Makers Realm Sunday afternoon. It was 5 minutes before going live, and Patrick's going, send me a Facebook message. Where you at? And I'm like, what? And he said, we're live in 5 minutes. Like, oh man, I was working on this file and so into it that I lost complete track of time. All right. Wonder if he's thinking about baseball. I won't tell you what I was thinking about on that E. Uh, Steve is doing the tight curve going for the rich hammer routine. I like it. Yeah, pop. And yeah, I do. I said earlier, I eat crow when I put my boxes together now. I would glue every my boxes, but now I'll get that kerf right, and I don't use hardly any glue ever. Uh, might be a little easier with mini. I don't know what that. Oh, mini clamps. The clammos. I don't know what clammos are. That must be an Australian thing. But we got clamps up here to hold it square as you go, and it's actually a lot easier whenever I'm keeping everything on the table or right here at me. Me trying to hold it out there for the camera and the right angles. That was a little more challenging to try and keep stuff together. Let's see. Yeah, Carl says you just proved making love takes over an hour, and yep. I feel like an elf a couple of weeks ago hammering tabbed items together. Ha ha. I can count, and I can count so far. Home Zero, you haven't sent any super thanks. You've sent 0 super thanks. That's how much I can count. And are you still using woodpeckers? I've never. Yeah, I use Fryler. I don't use woodpeckers. I might have used some of their stuff in the past, but for premium product, the Fryler is for me. It's in fact it used to be advertised I think as AA grade, but now I think it's AA grade. And this stuff I just purchased two. In fact, I went through now count this now. I did that one project that was 16 or 17 pieces of board, not counting the screw ups. Each one of these is 4, so that's 16, 20, 24 plus the 4 that I had already pre-assembled. Here's 28 plus the 4 you just see me put together. It's 32. Counting the screw ups, I went through 45 pieces of the Fryler AA grade material, testing this product out and putting it together. And just to get this design ready to launch it on the site and to give to my patrons, I spent $70 in material, not counting the time. And but even when I'm designing and prototyping for this, that I don't have any intention of taking to market or to sell, I use that Premium Baltic Birch from Fryler, which the link for it from to help me out is hobowithwood.com/Premium Baltic Birch, and it's just a link to the Amazon link. And I just find that it's so much better. There's less voids, there's less fillers, there's less problems. It cuts nice, cuts even. It's almost always perfect and flat. I had one piece in this one that was a little bit bowed that I could have used with my hold downs, but I didn't want to do that, so went with do another piece. But I've bought 20 some odd boxes of this in the year of 2023, and only one out of those 20 some odd boxes was kind of a problematic box. And when I contacted Fryler, they replaced it. And now I understand they're starting to vacuum pack those, and I haven't seen that yet. I got 2 boxes on the way to be here Saturday, and I'll be curious to see if they come in vacuum packed. Yeah, if you're, sometimes I feel like I'm working with 1.5 brain cells, but if you do have a physical impairment, this would be tough. No 2 ways about it. It'd be tough. And Jason says woodpeckers is what's in your link on your videos. That might be, I think there's a couple links on there, but there should be a link there for hobowithwood.com/Premium Baltic Birch. And that should go to, Fryler. Let me double check that. I know it does. You done got me sidetracked, but now I want to make sure, because what can happen is those links can change. They every so often you'll find that something happens at Amazon. But there's hobowithwood.com/premium Baltic Birch. And yeah, that's Freiler. Where did I hear that? Freiler, 12 by 8, 1/8 inch thick, premium Baltic Birch. So hobowithwood.com/premium Baltic Birch. Now, back. Put that back and turn you off. Yeah, Pop. I tell you, today I cleaned up. I had a huge. I don't throw anything out, and somebody made fun of me the other night whenever I took a piece off and just threw the wood across the room. I don't throw anything out because I will go through everything. Those are my. That's a pile of bone or skeletons, and then I'll take those skeletons and I will snip away everything I can, and I will get all the meat off those bones. I've got. I don't know. I've got a pile down there that's probably another. If once it's all said and done, I probably got 25 pieces of 1 by 1 down there in pieces, but I can't afford to waste nothing. And Mike said his came in a plastic bag, but not vacuum packed. And Chris is saying a lot of it is starting to be vacuum packed. Yeah, I talked to the guy from Freiler, and he said he was upgrading to doing vacuum packing. Crafting Gene, vacuum packed, all letters are together. Note to self, the inside of the V goes the opposite way than how I fixed it. Okay. For those who have stuck around and have just tuned in, because the numbers went up and down, but now you're back. Maybe people said, you know what, I don't need to watch this assembly. And I tell you, for all of you guys that go and get this file and you contact me and say, this don't work, I'm going to tell you, go watch the video and hold your mouth right, because it does work. It's a pain. It's a puzzle. And depending on how well you are with your laser, you're going to get it together. But for those who have hung around, I have a 24-hour coupon code good for 50% off of the love letters, and the coupon code is Hobo Love. So if you go to hobowithwood.com, you can go get that file for 50% off. I've got it listed for $9.99. You can get it for half price for the next 24 hours. For you that have tuned in for the live stream, you can see it and get it for that using Hobo Love as the coupon. That Hobo Love should be for 50% off on that file only. Don't be selfish. Don't be, share some love. Find some other things in there that you'd like, that you haven't, that you thought about. Go ahead and grab them too. But this coupon code is set to expire in 24 hours. And that's because I want those who are either in the bed asleep right now or who are on their way to work that are going to watch this in a replay to be able to have the opportunity for the same savings. Now, with that said, this was gifted to my patrons. And I gave this file to all of my patrons, gold, silver, and bronze, if they were a patron prior to today. Anybody who signs up as a patron after today will not get it for free unless you become a gold patron. Gold patrons have a coupon code that is good for 100% off all of my digital files on Hobo with Wood. And that is the best deal going, because $20 a month, man, that's not even a pizza. You're not going to miss $20 a month. But if enough of you sign up as we gold patrons, it sure does help me. And you get access to all of the files, all of the digital files for 100% off. Silver patrons get them for 80% off. Bronze get them for 60% off. And I have not passed the hat, but we'll put that up there as we're getting ready to wrap this up. Those are the different ways that you can contribute to this channel other than the super thanks, which is down below. I use Zelle. Of course, I just mentioned Patreon. There's PayPal. They're all scrolling right there. Like, share, subscribe. I was kind of anxious and hoping to see 7,500 subscribers before the end of the year. And just before New Year's Day, we hit 7,500 subscribers. And then today is only the 4th, and we're already over 7,600 subscribers. So I've gained 100 subscribers in 4 days. I'm like, so super thanks. PayPal.me/YouTube Hobo, Zelle, use the email hobowithwood@gmail.com, and Patreon. All right, 5 more comments. Blah, 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 blah. After seeing the assembly, I can see so many areas where people who aren't logical can go wrong. Yes, they're going to. I've made a bunch of these, and the first few that I put together, I put them together 2 or 3 times because I constantly screwed it up. But that's why I felt like I needed to do this video. So, because I didn't label anything, because I actually wanted to kind of keep it as a puzzle, but I wanted to be able to say, when people contacted me and say, and like on Rich's prayer cross, there were a handful of people that just could not get past the hurdles of understanding that everything was on the line. They were putting things on field that shouldn't be, and they were inverting and this and that. We got, I helped out a few, and he helped out a few, but there's always a handful of people who are going to struggle, and I am the first to try and help those, especially if it's my file. But even if it's not my file, I'll try and help you through a situation. But with this video, I can say, okay, you can go watch the first part of that, and now you can see it works. And I tried to explain each of those pieces and why they line up, how they do, where they do. And like I said, those, what was it? It was the E and the L that had the really funny corners on them. And those were produced that way because of trying to create the symmetry of those slots and tabs. Let's see. Dale's asking, any idea when I'll have the other letters ready? Well, I tell you, Dale, December, I didn't get a whole lot done because it was just December. Everything was 100 miles a minute with the holidays and the different live streams that was going on, and trying to get things done for Patreon. I actually kind of neglected my patrons a little bit in December, which is kind of brings up a funny thing. In my lifetime, I've worn many hats. And one of those hats, I was a car salesman. And in that position, I learned very quickly that the people who beat you up the worst for the best possible deal, they beat you down and beat you down and beat you down and let you make as little money as possible, are also the customers that are going to be the biggest pain in the rump the entire time they own that vehicle. They're going to be a nightmare every time you see them. Now, not all of my bronze patrons are problematic, but if any patron is problematic, it's always a bronze patron. It's the one that's paying me $3 a month and think that I should be jumping through hoops and dancing on a beach ball while I'm juggling 4 bowling balls and taking care of all of their personal needs, and no one else. A few people signed up in December, which I was a little lax in December, but for those patrons who've been with me all year, and even if you signed up in December, you could go back and see the entire year's worth of posts and tons of free files there. And they would sign up for $3 and then complain, want their money back, and say that I wasn't as active or they didn't get what they felt they deserved for their $3. And to them, I say, so I help people who aren't patrons. I met the nicest person this week, Ashra. She's in Antigua. She contacted me through email, and she's in Antigua, which is an island. And if you know anything about living on an island, it's expensive. Everything on an island has to be brought to you. So she didn't have access to inexpensive light boxes. And so she contacted me about maybe trying to help her. She got online like this and joined me in Hobo's World. And we actually sat down and designed a complete file, start to finish, I gave that file to her for free. Didn't charge her a penny for coming and talking to me. And we spent an hour or longer designing, putting that all together. Then she contacted me again the next day about how to change some things, how to add some gussets to help hold, because she was looking to do things with all wood, no hardware, because what she had was, plenty of the wood, but she didn't have the metal, hangers, braces, tabs, all that. So we engineered a light box, all wooden, that she could make and design for different widths and all. I didn't charge her a penny, didn't ask her for a penny, and told her if it didn't work, I would give her double her money back. Because I didn't get any. It's easy to double our money back. So I'm happy to help anybody. But man, you give me $3 a month and you're gonna complain about something, I'm gonna tell you. So all right, now I want to jump over here. These go on forever with me. 2 hours. I'm sure people have come and gone. Where did you say the link for Vever assembly table? It was supposed to be in the comments below. If it's not down there, if it's not in the comments underneath the videos, Andy, just send me an email and I'll send you that. And Jason saying, I hate to say this, but the coupon's giving 100% discount. Shouldn't be. Let me go over and check that real quick. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Let's do this. Dashboard, marketing, coupons. It says 50% discount. Hobo Love. Hobo Love. Discount type. It's a fixed product discount. Coupon amount. Should be 50%. Usage restrictions. It's only for love letters. Let's go over here and look at the WooCommerce and the orders and see what. Sure enough, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Coupons. Well, marketing, coupons, fixed product discount, Bobo Love. Well, I don't know how to fix it. It shows to be only 50% discount, but it's only going to be good for 24 hours, and there's only 60 some of you watching. It is what it is. At this point, I can't figure out what to do about it. And this is the first time I've tried to do something like that. But let me show you this real quick trick in Lightburn, and I'm going to get out of here because we're going long. I always go long. I enjoy spending time with you guys and talking, hanging out. And Chicago Bob, yes, thank you very much. I appreciate all your support. Yeah, and Jason, Jason says he didn't realize it until he checked out. I'll send you a donation. I appreciate it. I'm not going to ask you to. I'm not asking any of you guys to. I seen there were a bunch of people who've already got it for free, and at this point, it's kind of spilled milk. And like I said, that coupon's only going to be good until midnight tomorrow anyway. And that's just who I am. So let's just jump over here to Lightburn. I want to show you, this is a really, really neat trick. No, I don't need to save anything. I'm going to draw out a square or a rectangle, doesn't really matter. Put it in align mode. And then there was somebody contacted me or posted in Facebook. They had a kind of a trapezoidal shape, or let's convert this to a path. It wasn't rectangular. Convert to a path. Show the nodes. He had done something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it was flared, right? And he wanted to get slots and tabs put on here. Well, he was like, how do I get my slot lined up with that angle? And he was trying to twist and rotate this, and you could do that, and you could get it close and get it over here and kind of get in the right alignment and drag that point right up on the line. So you got that one just right. That one's still a little bit off, but even if it's a little bit off, if your movement tab is small enough, you can hit Control Arrow and just kind of arrow that in until now it's over the line down there. And then just hold your Shift key and weld that in play. And then if it's not quite the right size, you could use your slots and tabs tool to resize it and get them all the right size. But watch this, guys. This is how I did this on the letter V. I didn't mean to do that. I want to undo. All right. I've got that tab. I'm going to grab this corner, get my my crosshairs, bring that crosshair over until it snaps it right to the line right there. Now with that selected, go up here to your Arrange menu, and you're going to do a 2-point rotate / scale or a Control 2. And what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to select your first point, which is the point that I snapped to the line, which is right there. I'm just going to left click it. That puts a little red dot on there. Then I'm going to come down here to this corner that I need to have on this line, and I'm going to get my crosshairs, right click again, holding the right click, and I'm going to drag this over until it snaps right there. And now that is perfectly aligned to that angle, that tab. So that's cool. And Steve Springer asked about one thing in node editing, and I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to get out of here. He asked about the difference between deleting and trimming in node editing. So I'm going to convert this to a path and show my nodes. So now I'm in node editing, and I see the nodes, all 4 nodes of this rectangle. And if I hover right over that line and I hit the letter D for delete, it's going to delete that entire line. I'm going to undo. That's D for delete. Now trim, if we hover over the node editing tool to give you a list of the tools, there's all the shortcut letters, S, L, C, D, I, M, B, T, E, A. T is for trim. And if you hover over this line, the way it's supposed to work is when you hit the letter T, it's going to trim that line from this node until the next place that it intersects. So you'd hit the letter T, hovering right here, up, and see it deleted all that down there too. And I don't fully understand why it does what it does when it does, but it didn't delete that whole line. It deleted, or it trimmed part of it. And undo. I know why it did that. That's because if you had gone into node editing and you trimmed this off, then it was going to leave an open shape. And so by hitting this right here and hitting T for trim, it trims all that off, but doesn't leave, I guess, an open shape. But that's the difference between trim and delete. Delete will delete the entire line you're hovering on, and T will just trim up to the intersection of the other object. So it's kind of like a cut shape. All right. So I'm going to do a in-depth video on all those shortcuts and node editing, and I'll do some more diving and more elaborating on that trim and delete. And why is that still showing on there? Go away. All right. I want this file, but don't feel right about getting it as an error. I hold off and get it when the man. If you've been here pretty much this whole time, go grab that file. Go grab it. Go grab it. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And if you really want to do, if you don't want to get it for free, then just go down below and do a super thanks for $5, and that'd be the equivalent of getting it for half price. Yeah, Mike says it trims the side you have the cursor on, and actually, what I think it does, in fact, just for giggles, I because there were only 2 objects in there, I'm gonna put a second object in there, and that might be because there it trimmed away that entire piece. But if I go in here and let's put another anything in here, so now that rectangle is going to overlap that big piece and this octagon. If I come here and go into node editing, now instead of deleting that whole side, it's going to delete from here down to here where it intersects, I believe. So hit T. Yeah, see there? So that's what it is. It trims away to where it enters to the next place it intersects with an object. Okay. All right, guys. As always, I've been on here longer than I ever thought about being on here, but I enjoy doing this a lot more than I do recording a video, editing a video, post editing in a video, intros, outros. Oh, it's a whole lot of work to do a video. And this right here, 2-hour video, this is one of the ones that I would edit down. It'd still be 45 minutes long. Yeah, and Chris says, yeah, trim leaves no open shape. So it's going to cut it at its next 2 intersection points. So if it's only 2 shapes, then it's going to cut half of it off where it intersects. But if there's multiple shapes, it'll just trim to where it contacts the next possible shape. And everybody's saying the thank yous. And Jason, you didn't have to do that, but you feel better about it. I thank you. I appreciate it. Carl, thank you. Thank you, Andy, for being here. Thank you for your support, Andy, all year long. Thank you for your contributions. Chicago Bob, everybody who has helped me through 2023. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got a nasty letter this week from my local tax man. And now they know now that I'm doing YouTube, and they want to tax me. They want to tax me for my camera. They want to tax me for my lights. They want to tax me for my computer. Anything that I use to generate revenue on YouTube, they want to tax me. And I'm like, that's all personal property. This is the computer that I use to do my taxes on. It's my personal computer. Yeah, but you use it now for YouTube and you're generating revenue. It's now business. It's now business property. It's now property you have to claim and you have to pay taxes on. Yeah, I live in one of the worst places you can imagine. So they're wanting to tax and tax and tax and tax and tax, and I'm looking to get out of here. So right now I need all the love and support I can get from all the possible patrons I can get, and any of the files that you would love to have. Go over there and jump on them. Help a brother out. If you get this file and you have success with this, it works. It's not easy. It works. Post it, share it in the Hobo with Wood Facebook group. Share it on all of your sites, and people ask, where did you get that from? Send them over to the site and help me promote these sales. All right. Thank you, Lori, for all your support. Yeah, I hear you, Carl. I look down there in Florida, no state tax, no state sales tax, but you not have property tax, but you also have alligators, and that was a big deal breaker for me. Yeah, no, because while 501c3s are supposed to be, I don't know if 501c3, those are supposed to be for nonprofit organizations, like churches, that kind of thing. And I'm not making any profit, so technically I am a 501c3. But if I could, I'd be making profit, and so therefore I'm no longer eligible. All right, guys, I'm getting out of here, and as always, never know when this thing is going to end. So we're just going to keep on talking.